Have you ever wondered what people actually think about when they know their life is coming to an end? Not the small stuff, not what they ate for breakfast or what shows they watched. The big stuff, the stuff that keeps them up at night when there's no more time left to fix it. Doctors, nurses, and caregivers who spend their final days with dying patients hear the same things over and over again. And it's almost never about money. It's almost never about the car they didn't buy or the vacation they skipped. It's something much deeper, much quieter, and honestly, much sadder. A palliative nurse once shared that in all her years of caring for dying patients, she never once heard someone wish they had bought a bigger house or earned a higher salary. What she heard instead were quiet confessions, things people had buried for decades finally coming out in the last weeks of their life, when there was no more reason to hide them. The biggest regret people have before they die is that they didn't live a life true to themselves. They lived the life other people expected of them. Think about that for a second. Most of us spend our whole lives trying to make our parents proud, trying to impress our friends, trying to fit into what society says success should look like. We chase the job title that sounds good at family dinners. We buy the house that looks right on social media. We follow the path that was laid out for us instead of the one we actually wanted to walk. And by the time people reach the end, they realize how many dreams were left untouched. Not because those dreams were impossible, but because they were too scared, too busy, or too distracted to chase them. Many of them say they didn't even realize how much of their life was shaped by other people's expectations until it was too late to change anything. It's a heavy thing to sit with. Imagine spending 60, 70, 80 years on this earth and realizing near the end that most of those years weren't really yours. That you were living a version of life that someone else designed, while your real dreams sat quietly in the back of your mind, waiting for a day that never came. This regret usually shows up because of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of disappointing people who matter to you. So instead of taking the risk, people choose the safe, expected path. The problem is, safety doesn't always lead to happiness. It just leads to comfort. And comfort, over time, can quietly turn into regret if it's not the life you actually wanted. The second biggest regret is almost just as common. People say they wish they hadn't worked so hard. This regret comes up especially from people who spent most of their adult life chasing careers. They missed their kids growing up. They missed important moments with their partners. They missed simple weekends that could have been spent resting or laughing with people they loved. At the time, work felt urgent. Deadlines felt important. Promotions felt like they mattered more than anything else. But near the end, none of that holds the same weight anymore. People realize that no one on their deathbed wishes they had spent more hours at the office. They wish they had spent more hours at home, present, with the people who actually mattered. This doesn't mean working hard is wrong. It means balance matters. It means there's a difference between working to build a good life and working so much that you forget to actually live it. A lot of people only see this clearly once their health starts to fail and their energy starts to fade. Suddenly, the job that felt so important seems so small compared to the time they lost with loved ones. One man, looking back on his life, said he couldn't even remember most of the projects he stayed late for. But he remembered every single time he missed his daughter's school events. That contrast says everything. The things we sacrifice family time for rarely stay important in our memory, while the moments we missed often stay with us forever. The third regret is one that quietly affects so many relationships. People wish they had the courage to express their feelings honestly, instead of holding everything inside to keep the peace. So many of us suppress how we really feel. We swallow our anger, hide our sadness, and pretend everything is fine, just to avoid conflict or to avoid making others uncomfortable. Over the years, this builds up. Bitterness grows where honesty should have been. Relationships become surface level because the real, raw truth was never allowed to come out. People near the end of life often wish they had spoken up more, told someone they were hurt, told someone they loved them, told someone the truth, even when it was uncomfortable. Holding back feelings doesn't protect relationships, it actually weakens them. Real connection comes from honesty, not from constantly hiding what's really going on inside you. This regret also shows up in unresolved conflicts. Many people wish they had reached out, apologized, or forgiven someone before it was too late, instead of carrying that weight in silence for years. There's something incredibly painful about realizing you waited too long to say something important, only to find out the person you needed to say it to is no longer around to hear it. Sometimes it's as simple as never saying sorry. Sometimes it's never saying thank you. Small words, carrying enormous weight, left unsaid until it was simply too late to say them. The fourth regret is about friendship. People often say they wish they had stayed in touch with their close friends instead of letting life slowly pull them apart. In the busyness of work, family, and responsibilities, friendships often get pushed to the side. We tell ourselves we'll reconnect later, that there's always next year, that there's always more time. But years pass quickly. People move away, life gets complicated, and one day you realize you haven't spoken to someone who used to know you better than almost anyone else. Near the end of life, many people wish they had put more effort into those friendships. Not because friendships are everything, but because they bring comfort, laughter, and a sense of being truly known. Money and achievements rarely come up in these final reflections. But the people who made someone feel less alone, those names come up again and again. It's a powerful reminder that the relationships we build are often more valuable than anything we accumulate. Friendships built on shared history are hard to replace once they're gone. Think about the friends you had years ago, the ones who knew your old jokes, your old struggles, your old dreams, before life pulled everyone in different directions. Some of those friendships could still exist today if a little more effort had been made along the way. A short call here, a quick visit there, small things that actually mean a lot over time. The fifth biggest regret is something many people don't expect to hear, but it's incredibly common. People wish they had let themselves be happier. This might sound strange at first. Happiness sounds like something that just happens to you, not something you choose. But many people near the end realize that happiness was in fact a choice they kept avoiding. They stayed in comfort zones because change felt scary. They feared what others would think if they truly let loose and enjoyed life. They mistook seriousness for maturity and responsibility for joylessness. So many people live cautious, guarded lives, afraid to laugh too loud, afraid to take risks, afraid to admit they actually want to enjoy themselves more. Near the end, that fear fades away completely, and what's left is the simple, painful realization that life could have been lighter, brighter, and more joyful if they had just allowed it to be. People often say they wish they had laughed more, danced more, traveled more, and worried less about what others thought of their choices. It's strange how often people wait for permission to be happy. Permission from their job, permission from their parents, permission from society, when really, happiness was theirs to claim all along. This regret isn't about reckless living. It's about giving yourself permission to actually enjoy your one life, instead of treating happiness like something you have to earn before you're allowed to feel it. When you really sit with these 5 regrets, a pattern starts to form. None of them are about wealth, fame, or achievements. They're about authenticity, balance, honesty, connection, and joy. These are the things that matter most when everything else fades away. Not the size of your bank account, but the depth of your relationships and the truth of how you lived. So what can we actually do with this information while we still have time? The first step is to start asking yourself hard questions now, instead of waiting until it's too late. Are you living a life that feels true to you? Or are you living a life designed by someone else's expectations? It's worth pausing and really thinking about that. Are you working so much that you're missing the people who matter most? Sometimes the busiest seasons of life are also the ones we look back on with the most regret. Are you being honest with the people around you? Or are you hiding your true feelings just to avoid uncomfortable conversations? Honesty, even when it's hard, builds stronger connections. Are you nurturing your friendships, or are you letting them quietly fade away because life got busy? A simple message or phone call can keep an important relationship alive. And finally, are you allowing yourself to feel real joy, or are you holding back happiness because you feel like you don't deserve it yet? These questions aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to wake you up while there's still time to make changes. Most people don't get a warning before life suddenly speeds up. Sometimes a wake-up call comes from a diagnosis, sometimes from losing someone close, and sometimes it never comes at all until it's far too late to act on it. The truth is, none of us know how much time we actually have. That's exactly why these regrets matter so much. They're not just sad stories from hospital rooms. They're lessons from people who reached the end and saw their whole life clearly, all at once. And almost all of them wish they had made different choices, sooner. You don't have to wait until your final days to learn these lessons. You can choose, right now, to live a little more honestly, a little more bravely, and a little more joyfully. You can choose to call that friend you've been meaning to reach out to. You can choose to tell someone how you really feel, instead of staying silent. You can choose to slow down, even just a little, and notice the people and moments that truly matter, instead of letting them pass by unnoticed. Life has a strange way of feeling endless, until suddenly it doesn't. And the people who reach the end with the fewest regrets are usually the ones who learn to live intentionally, long before time ran out. So maybe the real question isn't how to avoid these regrets completely, because we're all human, and some regret is simply part of life. Maybe the real question is, what's one thing you can start doing differently today, so that years from now, your own list of regrets is just a little bit shorter? Because in the end, it's never about how much you achieved or how much you owned. It's about how truly, honestly, and fully you allowed yourself to live. If there's one thing worth taking away from all of this, it's that regret usually doesn't come from the risks we took. It comes from the chances we never gave ourselves a chance to take. So take the trip, make the call, say the words you've been holding back. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, but we are guaranteed today, and today is enough to start. Live a little louder, love a little deeper, and let go of the fear that's been quietly running your life for far too long.